So in this video, we are going to talk about a service called Scribd, which is a very strong service that allows you to embed different kinds of files, such as Microsoft Office files, .pdfs, PDF files, other kinds of text files directly into your ePortfolio pages so that you can prevent forcing the viewer to have to download files and finding them in their download folder, or having to open up in a new window and new tabs and being taken away from your ePortfolio, like we discussed in the past, is something that we want to try to avoid as much as possible. So typically what will happen, and let's talk about the resume page. Typically the resume is where this first happens to students as they're creating their ePortfolio, where they first run into this issue of how to properly embed. So typically what will happen is students will come to their resume page and they will make the assumption, well, I need to add media. I have my resume page. Obviously, I want to have my resume on it. So let's add my resume. And they'll go to add media. And here you can see this sample.pdf, which is for this example is my resume, which I've already uploaded it into my media library. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to insert into page. And it's a PDF document, and what you see happens is basically just automatically creates a hyperlink with the name of the file. And if I were to update and go back into my portfolio, there it is. There's that hyperlink, and if I click on it, it opens up that PDF. But as you can see, it opened it up in the same window. It took me away from the ePortfolio. So what I would have to do as a viewer is I'd have to click the back button to get back into the ePortfolio. And if it had been a Microsoft Word file, it actually would have opened up a dialog box asking me to download the file. And then I would have to go find my downloads folder, and I would have to go find the file and open it up just to look at the resume on this ePortfolio. Not something that we want to do. We want to try to make it easier than that, and we want to actually try to embed these documents directly into our ePortfolio pages. So if we take 10 seconds and type in Scribd for WordPress, literally the first URL, the first return that we get is a really great tutorial on how to utilize Scribd with WordPress and how to embed documents. And when all is said and done, it actually shows you a good example here of what it looks like. You get your PDF, your Word doc, whatever it may be, embedded into your page directly, with some tools like where you can even full screen it and see it at a large full screen. So it's really great. It's fantastic for ePortfolio use. So obviously you need to go to Scribd. This is the home screen, the splash screen for Scribd, and you'll have to create your account if this is the first time that you've used it. I already have an account, so I'm just going to go ahead and log in. And what we need to do is we need to upload our resume or whatever it is that we want to have, whether it be a .pdf file, maybe it's some sample writing that you've done, maybe it is your resume, whatever it is, we need to upload it. So you'll notice in the upper right corner here, you've got the upload button. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select files to upload. So I'm going to go find, this is my sample PDF that we are using for this example here, and I'm going to click that and upload it. And it's going to take a minute to analyze the file and bring it into Scribd. And hopefully it doesn't take too long here. Great, there we go. Okay, so it's been loaded in, and now what we need to do is we need to give it a title. I'm just going to call this sample resume, and description, which is required. And we have some other things, tags and categories. We don't really need to worry about that. What we do need to worry about is, if we are trying to offer this up as something that we were selling on Scribd, then we could choose that, but we're not. We need to keep that at free because this is something that we want to be able people to view at free from within our ePortfolio. So the last thing I'm going to do on this page is click the save and continue. And you're going to see this share your content, and you'll see this embed or get link, and you might think initially like, oh, that embed chunk, I bet that's what we need. In this case, it actually isn't though, so we are going to ignore that. But what we are going to do is we're going to go into our account and go into uploads. So again, up at the top, uploads. And there it is. There's our sample resume, and let's take a look at it. If we click on it, we'll see our sample resume, and we've got some options over here in the top right. And one of them is share on social networks. So if I come up to this and I click this share on social networks, we'll get this little dialog box, share to your social networks, Facebook, Twitter, what is that? Google Circles, Google Plus. I'm not sure what they're calling it these days, but you also see this embed button. So let's click that embed, and we get this new dialog box, and we get a bunch chunk of code here, and that's looking pretty good. But we want to make sure that you see this format here. We want the WordPress format, and it's a lot simpler. It's a lot less code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this chunk of code, and I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to copy it, and just to make sure that I have the last step, paste it directly into here. Okay, fantastic. So now I can come back into my resume page, and I'm in the edit page, and I'm just going to paste that line of code, that chunk of code into it, and I'm going to update. And if all has gone well and we've done it correctly, if I come in and I refresh my resume page, hey, fantastic, really exciting. I've got my sample resume, sample PDF embedded directly into my ePortfolio page, and it has that same strong functionality where I can make it full size, I can zoom in and out, and you can even download it directly. So if the potential employer is so amazed at your skills in your resume and they want to make sure they have a copy that they're keeping with them, they can do that, which is also a really nice feature. So that is using Scribd with WordPress to embed documents. And you know what? Let's just take a look here. These are the supported file types. So if you're working with any of the majority of the Microsoft Office file types, PDFs, OpenOffice, and all of the different basic plain text file formats are compatible with this. So again, we really recommend it to use Scribd for embedding things into your resume to avoid sending the viewer away from your ePortfolio. In the next video, and it should be the final video in this series, we are going to take a look at finishing up and cleaning up the pages on your ePortfolio. We'll see you then.